You know, if you stop someone on the street today and ask them how they define wealth, the answers you get are, well, they're entirely predictable.
Right. Yeah. It's almost always about money.
Exactly. It's the immediate reflex, the size of the bank account, the stock portfolio, maybe the square footage of their house. We are so conditioned to think of wealth strictly as tangible assets.
It's a very, it's a purely ledger-based view of existence. We are basically taught from day one to look at our entire lives as just a series of accumulating transactions.
Yeah, totally. But occasionally, if you push a little deeper with people, you get the more philosophical answers.
Like health is wealth.
Right. Health is wealth. Or they'll tell you that time is the ultimate wealth because, it's the one non-renewable resource we have.
Which is true, but
But notice how even then it always comes back to something you possess. It's
yeah.
always something you can accumulate, guard, and eventually spend. Well, today we're looking at a piece of source material that just completely obliterates that ledger.
It really does. It flips the whole concept on its head.
It redefines the very concept of wealth into this fascinating, almost botanical blueprint of human existence.
Botanical's a great word for it, actually.
Right. So the mission of this deep dive is to unpack this profoundly layered text from 2009. It's written by an author named Shui Feng, and it's titled The Difference Between Spirit Wealth and Soul Wealth.
And it essentially serves as a complete structural teardown of what it actually means to be a thriving human being.
It really does. Now, before we really get into the architecture of these ideas, we need to make a quick note for you, the listener.
Just a bit of context, yeah.
Because as we explore this framework, you are going to hear some very specific spiritual terminology. The text incorporates words like the greatest creator, Buddha, angels, bodhisattvas, and the Tathagata.
Right, and it's important to clarify how we're approaching those terms.
Exactly. We want to be incredibly clear right up front. The goal of this deep dive isn't to endorse any specific religious viewpoint or, advocate for a theological stance.
Yeah, we are looking at this impartially.
Right. We're treating these terms as components of a philosophical framework that the author is presenting about the underlying structure of life.
We're basically analyzing the mechanics of the author's argument. Our focus is purely on how these concepts interact to form a functional or, well, a dysfunctional human life.
And the stakes for understanding those mechanics are actually pretty high.
Oh, absolutely.
Because by the end of this deep dive, you are going to have a completely new lens through which to evaluate your own internal balance. You might finally realize why certain areas of your life feel completely stuck.
Even when, on paper, you seem to have all the right inputs.
Yes. Or why throwing more resources at a problem, like more money, more time, more energy, is sometimes the exact thing that accelerates the collapse.
What happens so often, right?
All the time.
Okay,
Let's unpack this. Before we can achieve this new definition of wealth, Su Feng says we have to stop treating two specific words like synonyms.
Right, the words spirit and soul.
Because in modern conversation, we just throw around spirit and soul interchangeably. I mean, I do it all the time.
Everyone does. But in this text, they are completely distinct, separate forces of a living organism.
So to explain this separation, the author uses this brilliant plant metaphor.
Yeah, it's such a helpful visual. In this framework, spirit represents the energetic characteristics of life. So if you picture a plant, the spirit is the visible, vibrant expression.
The parts we can see.
Exactly. It's the trunk, the branches, the leaves, the flowers, the fruits. And the wealth of that spirit is the energetic input. It is the sunlight, the water, and the soil nutrients that actually fuel that outward growth.
Okay, so the spirit is the energy, it is the input and the output, but then you have the soul.
Right. The soul reflects the structural characteristics of life.
So if the spirit is the leaves and the sunlight, the soul is what? The root system.
Yes. It is the underlying structural design hidden beneath the soil. What's really fascinating here is how the text uses the specific example of a peony to illustrate what happens when these two elements get out of balance.
Oh, the peony example. I love this part.
Yeah, so imagine a peony with a beautiful soul. Its root system and its structural design are perfectly conceived, but it lacks spirit wealth.
Meaning it doesn't have the energy.
Exactly. It is deprived of sunlight, water, or nutrients. The result is exactly what you would expect. Its growth is severely restricted. The trunk becomes thin, the leaves wither, the blossoms are weak.
So it has the structural potential for greatness, but it just lacks the energetic fuel to actualize it.
Precisely. It's starved.
See, I was reading that part, expecting the usual, starve a plant and it dies logic, but then the author flips it and goes in a completely unexpected direction.
The inverse scenario.
Yes, I want to look at the inverse scenario. What happens if you have an abundance of sunlight, water, and nutrients, meaning massive spirit wealth, but the plant's structure, its soul, is deeply flawed?
Well, the text states its growth and appearance will become completely distorted.
Wait, distorted, what?
Because the energy has nowhere proper to go. The roots are flawed, right?
Right.
With all this abundant energy pouring in, the pea teeny might produce this massive cluster of flowers, but have almost no leaves to support them.
Oh, wow.
Or it might grow incredibly luxuriant foliage, but the blossoms erupt completely out of season. The proportions just become grotesque.
I love this concept because it explains so much of modern human behavior.
It really does.
Like, wait, so you can have the absolute perfect environment, you can be drowning in resources and energy, but if your internal structure is flawed, your growth is actually warped.
Exactly.
It's like putting premium racing fuel into a car with a shattered engine block. It doesn't matter how high octane the energy is.
No, it doesn't.
If the structure itself can't handle the combustion, the fuel is just going to tear the machine apart.
The racing fuel doesn't fix the engine. It exaggerates the flaws in the metal. A plant blooming completely out of season because it has too much energy and no structural integrity is a tragic image.
Yeah, it really is.
And it perfectly naps onto people who receive a sudden windfall, like money, fame, or opportunity, and yet their lives instantly devolve into a chaotic mess.
Oh, we see it all the time with child stars or lottery winners.
Perfect examples.
They get this massive influx of spirit wealth, attention, energy, resources, but their root system, their soul wealth, just hasn't been developed yet.
And the energy distorts them.
So if we take this botanical blueprint and actually map it onto our daily human experience, we need to define what these things actually are.
Right, moving from plants to people.
If spirit is the energetic input in the blooming leaves, what is spirit wealth for you and me?
Shuefeng is very explicit about this. For human beings, spirit wealth primarily refers to affection and love.
Which, sounds a bit like a Hallmark card at first glance.
It does, yeah. But the categorization the author uses is incredibly detailed and expansive.
I was struck by the sheer breadth of it. Let's look at affection first. The text includes family affection, friendship, and romantic love. We all get those.
Sure, the standard definitions.
But then it adds deep emotional attachment and heroic passion.
Ah, heroic passion.
I really have to pause on heroic passion because that elevates affection away from just being a soft, comforting feeling.
Absolutely. Heroic passion is an active, driving state of being. It is the energy required to champion a cause, to protect something vulnerable, or to push through immense difficulty for the sake of an ideal.
Think about what heroic passion looks like in a mundane setting, like a corporate office.
Okay, yeah.
You have one person who just clocks in, stares at a spreadsheet, and clocks out. They have zero spirit wealth in that environment.
None at all.
Then you have someone who attacks that exact same spreadsheet with heroic passion because they realize fixing this data will stop a systemic error that is actively hurting their clients.
The task is exactly the same.
Yes, but the energetic output, the spirit wealth, is completely different.
And the text also broadens affection to include an emotional connection with nature and all things.
That part was beautiful.
Right. Your spirit wealth is literally tied to how deeply you feel connected to the weather, or the trees on your commute, or just the physical reality of the world around you.
And then the text moves to love, which expands this canopy even further. It talks about love for the greatest creator, love for heaven, earth, nature, and all things.
All-encompassing?
Love for society, for other people, for all life itself. And my personal favorite, love for truth, goodness, and beauty.
It's a massive framework.
It is. If spirit wealth is the leaves and the branches, this text is describing a sprawling, ancient oak tree of emotional connection. You aren't just loving your immediate family, you are actively engaging in a love for society and a love for truth.
But we have to look at the prerequisite the author lays out for all of this.
Oh, right, the catch.
Because you cannot just decide one morning to possess this expansive love. The text outlines that to acquire this spirit wealth, one must first cultivate noble character and develop rich inner qualities.
The soil.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The character is the soil from which the spirit wealth can actually be absorbed.
I want you, the listener, to really think about how often we see the exact opposite of this dynamic play out in real time. Think about how often people demand, deep affection and genuine love from the world.
From their partners, from their friends.
Right, without ever doing a work to cultivate their own inner noble character.
It is the ultimate symptom of modern entitlement, really.
Mm-hmm.
People treat love as a transaction they are owed.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
They want the lush leaves and the beautiful blossoms of affection, but they completely refuse to develop the rich inner qualities required to sustain them.
They want the energetic output without providing the psychological nutrients, and then they sit around wondering why their relationships are full of withered leaves.
Yeah, they are starved for spirit wealth because
Yeah.
their character literally cannot process the affection they are demanding.
Exactly. So that's the spirit. That's how we bloom out into the world through love and affection. But, when winter comes, the leaves fall away.
The energy recedes.
Yeah, so what is left?
The structural foundation.
Yeah.
The roots.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Soifin defines soul wealth as one's true nature.
And to describe this true nature, the text uses a barrage of incredibly powerful transcendent terms.
Yes, it says true nature is Buddha. True nature is the angel and bodhisattva. True nature is the super celestial. True nature is the Tathagata.
And for a listener trying to ground those terms in everyday life, we really need to translate what Tathagata nature or angelic nature actually means in this specific framework.
Because it doesn't mean glowing with a literal halo, right?
No, not at all. It means operating from a place of unshakable structural integrity. When a person's innate nature can be fully expressed and blossom freely, that signifies abundant soul wealth.
They have a clear structural baseline.
Right. When someone is completely unbothered by trivial office drama or remains completely calm during a crisis, that is their true nature remaining unconstrained.
But when that true nature is bound up, when you are constantly reactive, petty, or lost in anxiety, that indicates a lack of soul wealth. You basically have bad roots. I have to push back on the author's logic here, though.
Okay, what part?
I am struggling with the mechanism of how we actually acquire this soul wealth, because to get spirit wealth, we just talked about needing noble character. Be a good person, develop rich inner qualities, you get love. That is actionable.
Right. It makes intuitive sense.
But to acquire soul wealth, the text says you must possess correct faith, firm conviction, and then, here's the leap, you must develop a profound understanding of life, space, and time.
It demands a macro-level worldview.
A massive macro-level worldview. We went from be a person of good character to you must profoundly understand space and time.
It sounds like a big jump.
It's huge. I need you to explain the causality here. How does understanding space and time have anything to do with my internal structural roots? Why is my true angelic nature dependent on my grasp of cosmic timelines?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the causality actually makes perfect mechanical sense.
Okay, I'm listening.
Think about it. The soul is the root system. It is the fundamental blueprint of your existence. You cannot have a deep, expansive, unshakable root system if your worldview is tiny.
Tiny how?
Think about it like a potted plant. If you believe your life is strictly limited to the 80 years you spend on this planet, working a job, paying a mortgage, and then fading into nothingness.
Okay, grim, but yeah.
Your roots are planted in a very shallow plastic pot.
Okay, I am following the pot analogy.
You are constrained by a limited understanding of your place in the universe. If your timeline is only 80 years long, a 2-year setback in your career feels like a catastrophic, world-ending disaster.
Because it's a huge percentage of your existence.
Exactly. The anxiety of that constraint chokes your roots.
Right.
But if you develop a profound understanding of space and time, if you establish a correct outlook on the infinite vastness of life itself, your roots shatter that plastic pot.
Oh, wow.
A 2-year setback becomes a microscopic blip. The anxiety just vanishes. The literal loosening of that psychological soil allows your roots to expand deep into the earth.
Oh, that makes so much sense. The shallow worldview acts as a physical constraint on the soul.
Yes.
Because without that profound understanding, the text says your true nature is constrained and unable to unfold naturally. Your roots hit the plastic walls of your own limited worldview, and they just tangle themselves into knots.
You cannot fully express an expansive angelic Tathagata nature if your structural understanding of reality is confined to a tiny material box.
Right, because without the deep roots of a profound worldview, the heavy branches of heroic passion and universal love we talked about earlier, They would just topple the tree over.
Exactly. The engineering of this philosophy is incredibly tight.
It really is. But it brings us to a very practical, inescapable problem.
Which is?
Well, once we understand the deep roots of the soul and the blooming branches of the spirit, how do we balance this botanical existence with the reality of paying rent?
Ah, yes. The material world.
We have to buy groceries. Material wealth exists, and we need it to survive in the modern world. We can't just be trees.
No, and the author absolutely acknowledges material wealth. Xu Feng provides a very strict, exact hierarchy for those who aspire to become super celestials, which is the term used for individuals cultivating their ultimate potential.
Okay, so there's an order to it.
Yes. The strict order of pursuit is this. First, you must pursue soul wealth. Second, you pursue spirit wealth. And finally, third, you pursue material wealth.
Okay, let me repeat that. 1, soul. 2, spirit. 3, material. Structural design, then energetic affection, then physical resources.
Exactly. Build the foundation, grow the branches, then gather the external assets.
That makes logical sense.
But the text spends its final paragraphs breaking down the extreme dangers of violating this architectural sequence.
What happens if we mess up the order?
Well, pursuing soul wealth alone, while ignoring your spirit and your material needs, turns you into a rigid structure with no life.
You're just an empty root system sitting in the dark.
Precisely. Conversely, pursuing spirit wealth alone, chasing love and affection, while ignoring your structural soul and your material reality, makes you erratic. You become all energy with no anchor.
Just leaves blowing in the wind. But the text highlights one specific trap above all the others, right?
Yes. And this raises an important question about how we organize our society today. The author states that the pursuit of material wealth, while neglecting both soul wealth and spirit wealth, is even more misguided.
In the original phrasing, it translates to being wrong upon wrong. It is the ultimate compound error.
It is the most dangerous path a human being can take.
So, what does this all mean? When you look at that hierarchy, soul, then spirit, then material, I want you to think about how modern life actually operates.
It's completely backward.
Almost all of us operate in a complete inversion of Xu Feng's order. We build from the top down. We grind ourselves to dust for material wealth first.
We spend our 20s, 30s, and 40s chasing the bank account, the promotions, the physical resources.
We prioritize the third tier.
We do.
Yes, and we do it because we secretly hope that once we have the material wealth, it will somehow automatically purchase the spirit wealth.
Right. We think buying a bigger house will save a failing marriage.
Exactly. We think the luxury car will finally bring us the affection, the romance, the love, the heroic passion. We use the lowest priority to try and forcefully extract the second priority.
And in that frantic pursuit, the first priority is utterly abandoned. We ignore our soul wealth completely.
We never take the time to develop a profound understanding of space, time, or our true nature.
We never build the root system.
Going back to our analogy, we are pouring abundant material resources and high-octane energy into a plant with a completely neglected, rotten root system.
We're building a heavy roof on a house that has no foundation.
And no wonder so many people feel like they have achieved everything they ever wanted materially, yet their lives are plagued by anxiety, depression, and shallow relationships.
Their peony is blooming completely out of season because the roots are suffocating in that tiny plastic pot.
It's such a vivid image.
The hierarchy is not a philosophical suggestion,
No.
It is a structural requirement for a stable organism. The structure must be able to handle the energy.
It is a phenomenal way to reevaluate where you are putting your daily effort. Like, are you watering the leaves while your roots are choking?
That's the real question.
So to bring this all together for you today, you are not just a ledger of accomplishments and bank balances. You are a complex structural organism.
Yeah.
To truly thrive, to achieve actual wealth, you must first cultivate the deep structural root system of a profound worldview. That is your soul wealth.
A deep root system allows you to support the energetic, vibrant blossoming of universal affection and love, which is your spirit wealth.
And only when those two are firmly in place can you safely pursue the material wealth required to support it all in its proper balance.
The text warns that a single individual pursuing material wealth over their soul and spirit is making the ultimate mistake, the wrong upon wrong. But if we pull back and look at the world today, what happens when an entire global society builds its entire infrastructure around that third lowest priority?
That's a terrifying thought.
If a single peony grows warped and distorted from a neglected structure, what does a whole forest of distorted peonies look like?
Wow.
I think we might be living in it. And as you navigate that forest, the most urgent question becomes, how do you start expanding your own root system today?
That is the perfect provocative thought to leave you with. Take a moment today to check your own roots, examine the size of your pot, and maybe prune back a few of those disordered leaves. Thank you so much for joining us on this intellectual journey, and we'll see you next time as we take another deep dive.